Welcome back into Hawks Huddle, episode 30. Jacqueline Kula and Mark Haskinet back here to recap a busy weekend in sports and a couple of other news pieces that we do want to focus on here. We're going to do a little bit of a talk on Sha'Carri Richardson. That's a big story that's out right now. We'll do a little bit of a talk on collegiate athletes, NCAA athletes. Big news came out last week. I know we were a little bit late onto the topic, but two huge topics that we want to focus on today, that NCAA players can profit off their likeness and image. And then we might touch on a few other things as well. But I think we want to start with Richardson, right, Jacqueline?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like when this, so we've talked about it. Do we actually get into it or do we always say that we were going to get into it kind of later on? Like I always say this, like everywhere I go, if I ever have this conversation with anybody, I always say marijuana should be legal in sports. I've said this several times and it should be.
Yes.
And this is kind of like, I think this, so the whole Sha'Carri Richardson thing that if people don't know is she is supposed to go to the Olympics. She's a what is a sprinter, runner? How do you, what's the right word for that?
I think it's sprinter, right?
Sprinter. Yeah, it says sprinter here. So sprinter. So she's like great sprinter. Like everyone's kind of talking about her drug test. Anyways, players have to get drug tested, of course. Hers comes back positive that she had, I guess, cannabis or marijuana in her system, meaning that she smoked marijuana, she smoked weed, and that is illegal in sports, which I think is terrible. And now she is banned from competing in the Olympic 100 meter, and she didn't qualify for another thing. So she's not even going to the Olympics, and she's supposed to be a star. And they're saying, no, you can't go because you had weed, which is legal in a lot of states in America. So
a lot now. And of course, legal in Canada.
It's legal all over Canada. And I'm 19, you're over 19, so it's fully legal. It's like, it's the same thing as having alcohol, which is super, I guess just it's very like accepted in our society, like alcohol, and also for the adults, they all see alcohol as fine. Like we always hear about athletes, LeBron talks about drinking wine at night. It's the same thing as smoking weed. Honestly, no one has ever died from smoking weed. You hear a lot about deaths from alcohol. You can die from alcohol. Weed you cannot. There's so many benefits that I can list, like 100 benefits that weed has against alcohol. So she is banned from competing, and I am very upset.
It's ridiculous. And the way, just to further your point at the end there, the way that dispensaries and all these shops are popping up too, it shows you how, kind of big of a business it is, at least here in Canada.
Yeah.
And like you said on alcohol, I think alcohol is much worse. Hopefully a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
But regardless, going back to Richardson, ridiculous. I mean, I don't understand why, like, it's not a performance enhancing drug. Like that's the first thing, right? Like it's not helping her run.
Weed does not make you go any faster. It actually makes you go much slower. That's the thing with marijuana, is that it makes your brain work a little slower, and it makes walking way more slower, and you cannot run if you are high on marijuana. So it's the craziest thing I've ever heard. That
it makes it even more impressive though that she's such a good runner in itself. But obviously, yes, she was taking it for not a reason that's going to help her, like an advantage in the sport.
And she doesn't take it before running. She actually explained that she took it because her mom passed away, and to deal with the grief and the trauma, she wanted to smoke weed, which is super normal. It's a way that people grieve. Like people will drink alcohol when they grieve, and she wanted to smoke weed to take like some pressure off of her back. So it's not like she's, smoking right before a game, because if she did, then it'd be very, very hard to,
I don't know how fast she'll be.
Yeah, either. Exactly. Like it's honestly one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in sports. Like, listen, there's a lot of drugs out there that are terrible and they should always be banned, like cocaine, whatever. Like there's drugs that people should just not be taking in life because they're illegal and they can kill you. Right. Marijuana cannot kill you. It like they've proven it. It's not that kind of drug. It is a legal drug. It's something that you and I can go out right now and buy, and it's
easily, yeah.
And like I think in our generation we kind of see it the same as alcohol. Like marijuana is something it's not like taboo, like our parents see it or, generations above us. So these people who run these sports and the businesses or whatever, they see this still as some sort of crazy drug, even though a lot of them have money in CBD businesses and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's another interesting point about
Yeah.
the whole thing. But, again, going to your point, right? The stigma of, I
Yeah.
get there, like the stigma's been removed from
Oh my god.
marijuana,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
seems like it is with this ruling, at least, it seems like it's still there,
Yeah.
right? Like the Olympics, the IOC, they came out and basically their reasoning for banning her is that they want their athletes to be role models, right? They know how many people are watching the Olympics. They want their athletes to look like role models to the kids and everybody around the world
Yeah, but
watching.
we hear a lot
But
about athletes going to strip clubs and going to bars and doing some
exactly, like
crazy
James
stuff.
Harden, isn't he on the men's basketball team for the US?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So I think
Exactly.
his behavior is a lot worse than Richardson using marijuana to cope with,
To
the
cope.
passing of her mother,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Like that's what I mean by being role models. Like I think if you smoke marijuana or if you use CBD or marijuana, that does not make like remove you from the platform that you have. So like
yeah.
Richardson's still a great runner. She's still, I'm sure, a great person.
Yeah, she's not
So
here posting herself smoking like, you
yeah,
we've seen like didn't Paul Pierce post something like that accidentally and he got fired,
yes,
but that
yeah,
was
he got
that was something
fired.
totally different. He was not just smoking weed. There was other stuff
No,
going
there's
on,
lots
but
of girls around, and
yeah, it was a little bit weird, but this is just like it was I was very upset to hear this one when I first saw this, and I just showed you Rogan was talking about it, and I feel like
right,
because Rogan talks a lot about why he smokes a lot of weed, and um I think that marijuana should be legal, like in sports, definitely. Like
yes, and I
I'm
agree.
like I am so sure that there is like I just don't understand why there's not, but I think that this everything that's going on and all these athletes and celebrities and tons of people are tweeting about it, talking about it, and like standing up for Richardson. I think that this is gonna make a change in sports. I
Yeah,
really I
I hope
believe
so.
soon they're gonna allow athletes to allow to have cannabis in their system. And we've also learned so many things for health of how it helps athletes. And we've
Yes.
heard other athletes, back in like the 90s and the 80s, they would actually smoke weed after games when they weren't testing them because that's how they would uh, uh, recover from the crazy
Yeah.
injuries and the beating that you get. That's how you recover. We're gonna see if when they do, because I know that they will, because they have to, when they legalize marijuana, we're going to see much longer careers and we're going to see much healthier players. One of the things that fans
Yeah.
hate is that we always see players sitting out. If you allow them to have marijuana and allow them to heal their body, we're going to be seeing much more playing time from athletes and much longer careers.
I would agree with that for sure. Kelvin Johnson was another one of those
Yeah.
players, Hall of Fame
Mm-hmm.
receiver now. He would always smoke before, and that was his reasoning. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like and also because he wanted to deal with the injuries, help the pain, and he
Yeah.
didn't want to take painkillers. Like you said,
Yeah.
there's so many worse drugs out there. It's
Painkillers are addictive.
which
They
is you can die
yeah,
off of that,
you can
of
die and you
course.
get terrible addictions. Marijuana, yeah, people kind of get hooked on it, but I'm pretty sure don't, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I'm pretty sure that you're not that you can't actually become addicted to it. It's not like if you get off
Right.
of it, you're not going to have withdrawals and you're not going to it's not going to do that to you like other drugs do, like
Yep.
painkillers. So
Exactly.
it's just the craziest thing. Like I'm always until they legalize it, I'm always going to be speaking on that.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I agree with you. I don't know if we did ever have a good talk about
Yeah.
marijuana in sports.
I
I
want
think,
to
like
have
you said,
more
we
though. We want
we
to have
kept
more
saying it.
though. Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Like I want to do a real talk about it. This is more of just like, these quick things that comes to our head because of this big issue, but
right.
there's just so much that we've heard and so many athletes, former athletes are starting CBD companies and
Yeah,
whatever because they
yeah,
know that people need it because it's medicine for people.
yeah. The business is booming. Like honestly,
Yeah.
like
Oh
the
my gosh.
marijuana, THC, CBD, that
Yeah.
business is booming.
Mhm.
So that's why the decision is just ridiculous. And again, I'm with you. Every sport, every professional sport should make that legal.
Yeah. Or
Um,
the or then like don't allow athletes to have alcohol. You know, it's like this it should be it should be seen as the same thing, but because marijuana is a drug, it's very taboo. They don't like the word
yeah,
drug. It freaks them out, but I think soon people are going to realize that like marijuana isn't this crazy drug that they try to teach us in elementary school that it's going to ruin our life. Like listen, don't, if you're going to smoke weed, don't, do it every second of the day. Be mindful of that because it makes you a bit slower, but there's so many benefits to it. So I really hope that these top people in the Olympics and in the NBA, NFL finally allow it and legalize it.
yeah, it's been long overdue for all these states and Canada even
Mm-hmm.
to have, even legalized it itself. So I'm with you on that. Something else pretty long overdue that came through last week is NCAA athletes. I remember we did have a talk
Mm-hmm.
about this, a pretty lengthy talk back before the new
Like
year.
November, I think it was like our third episode or something. I feel like if we go
Wow.
back and watch it, it'll be really weird because we're probably
Oh,
very different in the way that we speak and the chemistry and all of
yes,
that.
and I'm still probably leaning into my mic. I don't even have lights or anything at that point, so it's been a journey. It's been a journey. But we did have a talk about that way back when, like Jacqueline was saying, and finally, NCAA athletes. Is it going to start this fall? Or are they going to be able? They're going to be able to
I think it
profit.
started now, right now.
Oh, it's
Athletes
effective immediately.
athletes can make money now. I think like right away guys were signing to like local businesses were signing them as sponsors. I saw Barstool started something with Barstool Athletics, but they're signing like a
Okay.
thousand kids, so I think that just means that they get free merch and stuff. But this is something that we've
Still,
talked about. Yeah, it's something that we've talked about. Like I'm repping a
yeah.
Zion Williamson shirt right now.
Oh,
I guess the money that I to get this, I guess I paid the NCAA, but now because I got this before I got this
right,
a while ago before
right.
this rule, but now we can start buying, I don't know, college athletes merchandise because athletes can start making money. Like
Exactly,
it's crazy.
exactly. So long overdue. Like I said, like this should have happened so many years
Yeah.
back. They should have
Yeah.
been allowed to profit off of their image and everything like that, be able to sell merchandise, jerseys, shoes, whatever deals that Barstool and all these other
Yeah.
sponsors are going to sign.
Yeah.
Um, and it's awesome. It's awesome for these kids. Like it,
It's
it really is.
it really like it's so yeah, so now like players can be making money off of their name, image, like so
Yep.
there's no salary. It's not like the NBA, the NFL, like you don't get a salary. It's if you're popping, you get a lot of money because you're gonna get a lot of clout. So for example,
Yeah.
I wanted to mention there's this girl, Olivia Dunn, I think her name is. She's on TikTok. She has like over 4 million followers, almost 5 million. And on
Wow.
TikTok, you can make money from sponsorships or whatever. You can go like TikTok live, people can pay you. There's so many TikTokers right now who are making millions of dollars. This
I'm
girl
sure.
didn't get a penny because she is an LSU gymnast. So she's like a big star. She's a great gymnast, of course, and she hasn't made a penny.
Yeah.
And I was reading somewhere that now with this new rule, she's estimated to make like over $1 million this year just off TikTok alone
Wow.
with sponsorships and all these other stuff that you get on TikTok. So now this girl went from not making any money from being social media famous to now making like over $1 million a year, which is crazy.
Exactly. That's the kind of stuff that I like to hear because
Yeah.
yeah, like that shows you how much of a crime it was for the NCAA to not allow their athletes before to be making money off of it because she goes to LSU. That's a pretty big school and
Mm-hmm.
she has 4 or 5 million
Yeah.
TikTok followers. Like everybody else on TikTok, she should be able to profit, right? So
100%.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I think about a lot of other student athletes and stuff too. Like the other argument is like for football players like Manziel and like all these guys, like they're going to get a huge
Yes.
salary when they get to the NFL. But think about
Yeah.
how much money they would have made in college,
Yeah. I
like
think on
Manziel, Tebow.
Oh my God. Well, with Menzel, didn't he say that he got like $30,000 like under the table money that,
Yes,
you shouldn't really be
yeah.
talking about? But if Menzel was in the league right now in college and he had like, let's say we're back in 2014, 2013, and they announced this role with the whole money Menzel trademark and
Oh
everything
my.
that he's doing, I would say he'll make over $1 million in like one semester at college with
Yeah.
everything that he had going on and how famous he was and all anything he could have
Huge.
created, merchandise, like the money Menzel was something that we all talked about. He was in like Drake songs, like he
Yep.
could have made a crazy ton of money. And then I don't know if we talked about it on the pod, but I told you about this guy destroying. He was a punter at or kicker at UCF, and they gave him the
Okay.
option. And he had a big following on YouTube, and they gave him the option because he was making money off of YouTube. They're like, okay, you can stop making YouTube videos and stay here with your scholarship, or we're taking away your scholarship. You're being kicked out of school and keep on making your
Wow.
videos. This was about like 4 years ago, and he decided, okay, see ya. I'm gonna go make my videos. And he's actually been very successful, and he's been making a lot of money
Mhm.
off of YouTube, but he's still trying to get in the NFL. But like this is something that this guy's been fighting for years, and now it's like I'm sure he wishes that he can go back into college because now he can make a lot of money and still be playing.
Yes, because now the rule is out there. Yeah. Like think about Zion too. Like Zion
Oh my
Williamson and how much he
gosh,
would have profited
it's
as
crazy. It's
well.
I'm so
Like
excited to see like what's gonna come out of this, and I do think it's gonna make it because there's a lot of talk about is this gonna ruin the sport? Because I think Emmanuel Acha was talking about how like the thing he was saying was that how a lot of athletes he thinks aren't going to be going to the smaller schools anymore because, if you're like if you're like a solid basketball player and you go to Duke, you're going to have a bit of a following. You're going to be able to make some money with merchandise, with brand deals,
right.
sponsorships. But if you end up going to a smaller school, your name's not going to get out there as much. Yeah, you might be a great player and you're going to go go to the NBA, but in those 4 years, 2 years, whatever that you're there, you're not going to be getting a following as much as if you're going to go to Duke or you're going to go to
Yeah.
UCLA, you're going to go to I don't know, Notre Dame, like so that's kind of like the problem with that he thought, but I still think that it's like
But
I think
that
this is great.
Yeah, no, I think it's great too. That's a really good point that Acho is making. But like it's kind of like that already. Like
Mhm.
all, if like a lot of the smaller guys or the smaller schools, the players who play for the smaller schools, aren't talked about as much, right?
Mhm.
Like we always talk about Duke and we always talk about UCLA and the good teams in basketball.
Mhm.
But no, that's an interesting point. Like you said, it's not a salary.
Yeah.
It's based off of how
Yeah.
well you play.
Mhm.
If you're really good, if you're a guy like Manziel or Williamson, you're going to make a lot.
Yeah.
If you go to Duke, you're probably still going to make a lot, even if you're an average player.
Mhm.
So I do see the point that he's
Yeah.
making, but still a great
Yeah.
move.
And it's that's also kind of like what life is now in a way for to have these careers, it's kind of like you want to have some clout already in a way.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? There was
I
this
Yeah.
there was this girl Addison Rae. She's a TikToker, big
Yes.
TikToker, and she was reporting at UFC, and
Mhm.
she's like finally got a job after studying 3 months broadcasting whatever
She
at
was
LSU,
she was criticized. Like
and
there
she
was
got
some.
fired
Yeah.
apparently from
Oh
this
really?
gig because it's like oh she only went to school for 3 months, why is she getting to do this, she's a TikTok star, but on the other hand everyone always tells her go get a real job, you're just dancing on TikTok making millions. So and then it's like
Yeah.
she's doing it and she got so much criticism, I think they let her go. She doesn't need to do it, right? She makes hundreds of millions of dollars probably
On
on TikTok
TikTok.
alone. She's hanging out
Yeah.
with Kourtney Kardashian and like
Right.
she's doing fine for herself. But um that's kind of like what the world is now because they know putting Addison Rae, who has I believe like over 80 million followers on TikTok, you're gonna get more people to tune in than you are gonna have someone like us. I don't want to say that, but it's true. Like someone who's
Oh,
new. No, but it's true. Like right now,
no, it
someone
is.
who's new to broadcasting and sports, of course you want to have that, but we've kind of like learned that you gotta have that these
Yeah.
especially like UFC, which is very,
Oh, for
like
sure.
their own thing. They want to have someone who's really popular already. Yeah, like people are becoming popular in other things in sports, and that's kind of like for people like us, if we want to NBA, NFL, like
Yeah.
they have that for people not for the already famous dancers, TikTokers. They have it for
Yeah.
people who studied in school and have done this their whole life. But with the UFC thing, it's like she got so much criticism, but I do
Yeah,
think
that's
that like
crazy.
that's kind of just what that kind of world is and how a lot of the world is, that they want someone who has fame because it's going to bring in more viewers. So
Right.
um
And money, that's all about
it's
money,
all about
right?
the
So
money. So it's like,
exactly.
how do we even start talking about that? Oh, like they want to find the people with clout.
Right, right. And that is so true. Like going on there, but that is very, very true. It's the reason why guys like Stephen A. Smith and will always have a job and always
Yeah.
be covering everything.
Mhm.
Because people want to hear the
Yeah.
most
Right.
controversial
But he
stuff.
started with that, you know, like, it's not like he got famous off of
Right.
something else, which I do listen. Like, I know I was defending Addison there because I think she got too much hate for it, but it's like, you know, I do think that people who studied their whole life and have had a passion for sports
Yeah.
journalism should be getting those jobs, and I think that they always will. You know, I'm not on here saying that famous people should only be getting the jobs that we all want. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think she just
No.
got too much hate, and that's kind of what these colleges are gonna do now, or these athletes are gonna go do now. They're gonna go. They're kind of gonna do that same thing. They're gonna go to the school with the most clout because they're gonna get the most money from that. If you go to a big school like Duke,
Yeah.
you're even if you're like you don't play a second, you play like a minute a game, you're probably still gonna be able to get sponsored by like a local place in
Oh,
your
for sure.
hometown, right? Like there's
Just off
ways
the
to make,
fact you go to Duke.
just
Yeah.
because you exactly, if you go to Duke,
Yeah.
it's a big deal. It's like the biggest school in the
Of
world,
course.
or the biggest basketball school in the world. But that's kind of like how it's going to be. I think Emmanuel or someone else on that show talked about how there might be some resentment from other players who, you know, aren't getting these brand deals, aren't getting signed by Nike, aren't getting signed by these crazy big names. There's gonna be resentment in the locker room, which could happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, in an individual locker room, like the
Like, I'm
same
just
team.
thinking, like, if you're playing, yeah, like if you're playing at Duke, you know, and yeah, maybe you can make money if you're like a bench warmer, but you know, you're here practicing all day, and your buddy here, who you know is a starting point guard, is off making his merchandise and selling it
Yeah,
for thousands
signing
and thousands of
autographs
dollars,
and stuff. Right.
selling his autographs. That's huge too. That, like, you know,
It
he can
is,
sign an
yeah.
autograph and I can buy it. Like, that's awesome. But yeah, so
Yeah,
that's kind of like another problem that could happen. But like, there's problems with everything, you know, in life.
exactly.
There's always problems with everything that happens. So of course there's gonna be some problems with this, but this is definitely something that we've talked about, something that I've wanted to fight for, and I think now it's here.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's definitely still a good thing. I really, really, I do understand Acho's point in that. But then, like you were saying, like there is another view to it. Like that LSU Tigers gymnast, it was right.
Yeah.
Like she is the other side of it, right? Like she wasn't
Yeah,
able to
and then you
profit at
also
all.
think of, I was thinking this the other night. It's like now there's so let's say you're like a 5-star basketball player, right? And
Yeah.
you get recruited to go play at Duke. And this is, so let's say this is before they made this rule. Let's say this
Mhm.
is 2 years ago. You go play at Duke. You don't come from a lot, like, this person doesn't come from a lot of money at all. So their only goal is you got to make it to the NBA to take care of your family because you don't have any money. So your goal is to go to the NBA, but then you tear your ACL in your fourth
Right.
year, and now you don't get drafted, and now you don't have any money, and now you can't support your family. You play there for 4 years, you didn't make a dime, but you dedicated your life to this sport just to make sure to take care of your family. Now you don't, but now with this change,
Now they
you're
will.
a 5-star athlete, don't come from a lot of money. Right away, when you sign with Duke, LSU, whatever, you go and start making the merchandise, you go and start making the profit, and you can make a lot of money now in college. And let's say you do tear your ACL in your fourth year and you don't get to go to the NBA anymore, that, you know, at least you have the money to fall back on. You can take care of your family at least a little bit, you know. So I think
Exactly.
that's the main thing, is for the people who don't come from money, which we've heard of so much, and who don't make it to the league because of injuries. But you know, now you can make money.
Yeah, exactly. And the amount
Yeah.
of money spent on like March Madness and college football
Yeah.
betting, it's about time that the people who are playing in the games that we're betting on, that they're getting some money out of it. Maybe not directly from the betting, but like we've talked about, the
Yeah.
merchandise and
Mm-hmm.
everything. So very, very good news there. Like we said, I know that that was kind of last week's news, but they're two huge topics. And I
Yeah.
think we're gonna expand on it too, because especially the marijuana issue, that's an
Mm-hmm.
ongoing kind of issue in sports. So I agree with you there. The last thing, really quickly here, because we're probably going to end off here, but Conor McGregor at that UFC event did break his leg. He snapped his leg
Yeah.
against Dustin Poirier in their third match. It was ended in the first round. He lost, and then he went out and insulted Poirier's wife in the
Yeah.
post-match interview.
That
So
was a little
I don't know. Do you
frightening.
think it was? Do you think that was like a little bit like out of bounds, kind of like when he
McGregor
was?
kind of goes too far with everything. So it's
Uh,
not really like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Yeah, it's like, whoa, like take it easy.
right.
You're like, I think he was also like, he was threatening his whole family, whatever. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's that's kind of what he does. So it's not a shock, but like,
That's fair.
I don't know. It's
Do
hard.
you
It's
see
hard
him
to.
back in the ring
Yeah,
after he broke
I
his leg?
think
Yeah.
so. Well, I know Jake Paul was trying to fight him, but now
Yeah.
after the injury, he's like, oh, I'll pay you $20 to fight me now.
Yeah,
But
he keeps dropping the amount.
I don't know. I think he will be back, but I think
Yeah,
there's a chance he could be fighting Jake. I
maybe.
know it
He's
sounds
lost
crazy.
5 in a row now.
He's not
So,
exactly like he kind of needs someone who he really thinks he can like crush, and I think he thinks that he could crush Jake Paul. Um, I do think it could happen, and also to put up a lot of numbers. And we talk about, these
yeah.
guys want the money. McGregor has tons of money. I don't know if I think he cares more about winning, but they'll make a lot of money if he does fight Jake. And I don't know. I think he will be back, and I think he'll be fighting Jake. I think that'll be his
Yeah.
return.
Yeah, that would be pretty sick.
That would be
It's going to be like a probably an 8 month, whatever, maybe 6 to 8 month recovery. He's saying
yeah,
for his leg, but yeah, when he's back, that is definitely a potential. I think, especially because McGregor's getting older and stuff too, and
yeah,
he's getting beat up in the ring now. So
yeah.
he might have nobody else to fight him, and might have to go with Jake Paul, which would make so much money, like you're saying.
I'd watch that. Like you can't
I'd
like
watch that for sure.
seriously.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I think that's probably going to do it for us on the podcast today. We were going to talk about the Habs, but you know what? We don't have to talk about the Habs because that's disappointing. They did lose in 5 games,
Yeah.
but hey, far a good run for us, right? Pretty
A
good run.
good run. You guys were not even supposed to beat the Leafs. You were supposed to be swept. So
Yes.
seeing you guys go all the way there was amazing, and a lot of props to that entire team. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think you guys, yeah, I think you guys have a really just a bright future. Like next year, next season, like keep up with the same roster, and you guys can be
Yeah.
great again.
It was exciting. Obviously not the
Yeah.
result, but it was exciting, and we'll see about next year.
Hmm.
But yeah, we will be back again to do it next weekend. I think training camps are starting up pretty soon in the
Hmm.
NFL, so I'm sure we'll get some NFL and college football talk as
Yes.
well.
College
Because
football. We are focusing on college football. Like I
yeah,
always watch college football, but I never really got into it as much. But this year I'm totally like I really want to get into that this
well,
year.
especially with this news coming out too, and the
Yeah.
football season starting up. Yeah,
Yeah, I
for
think like
sure.
another thing, I feel like athletes like this may sound dumb, but maybe they're not gonna be as afraid of like injuries in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe they'll be putting more into these
Yeah,
games. I know that they put in 110% in games, but I'm saying there's gonna be a different feel definitely in these games, knowing that they can make money. Like I think there's gonna be a
exactly.
different. I think
Maybe.
it's gonna feel very different. I don't know if it's gonna be good or bad different, but I know it's gonna feel very different these games, which I'm excited for.
Yep. No, me too. I think that with that, I think we will be seeing a difference over the time because of this ruling. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. And yeah, we're gonna for sure focus on college football in the coming weeks or so.
Hmm.
But yeah, for Jacqueline Kula and Mark Haskinet, thank you as always for watching us. Please do subscribe and drop a like. As always, we'd appreciate that if I can get it out of my mouth. And we will see you guys next week on Hawks Huddle. Thanks for watching.